welcome back to another episode of the Tile Money Podcast. My name is Luke Miller, your host. This podcast, Tile Money, is strengthening the tile industry. We're doing this with our weekly business education designed for contractors by contractors. This education is assisting tile contractors around the world to build sustainable, profitable businesses. The result, a stronger industry from the installer up. The only way you can build strength is by strengthening the weakest point, the person who actually is installing the tile every single day. And I'm excited and happy to be having a part to do with strengthening this industry. Today I've got a great interview. I've got Matt Blood with me in the studio. Matt is the owner of Paragon Tile out of Rhode Island. We're going to discuss his business, how he got into the industry. He's a CTI. He's very active within the NTCA. He has ambitions to take his ACT test. We're going to talk about becoming the local expert. Matt has a beautiful website through Happy Tile Guy, and together in combination with the fact that he's been pursuing education like a CTI, pursuing the NTCA, hanging around the right people, he is now becoming recognized as one of the industry leaders in his local area, which is huge. It's a big deal to become the local expert in your area. Before we bring Matt on, I want to thank Laticrete International for being a sponsor of the podcast for the last 3.5 years. I appreciate their ambition and dedication to the tile installation community. I met David Rothberg at Tice in 2018, and when I told him about my podcast and the fact that it was for business education, his eyes lit up, and he was excited to help any way he could. So thank you, David, for believing in this podcast. Ron Nash, of course, and the entire Laticrete team for being so supportive of tile contractors and tile installers everywhere. Recognizing our position in the industry, I feel like you recognize the fact that there would be no industry without tile installers. So thank you for giving your support, both monetary as well as verbally, jumping in on the podcast from time to time. We've heard from Ron, we've heard from others in the Laticrete team. And I also want to put a plug in for Tile Nation. This is where you can get advanced training for porcelain panels. We do have a 3 and a 5 day training class. We have 2 more 5 days this year and 1 more 3 day in 2022. We have a training warehouse in Omaha, Nebraska. It's a beautiful location. Visit thetilenation.com, thetilenation.com. And if you want to stay in touch with all things Tile Nation and Tile Money, you can text the word, all one word, Tile Nation, to the phone number 877-630-3260. 877-630-3260. Text Tile Nation. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Luke. How you doing?
Doing well. Yourself?
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me here today.
Absolutely, man. It's my pleasure. I've been getting to know you a little bit in Facebook and at the events and all this good stuff. But for the sake of the audience, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us your name, your business name, and where you're at, and a little bit about kind of what your business looks like today.
Sure. So Matt Blood, based in Rhode Island, out of Cumberland, Rhode Island, but we work all of Rhode Island pretty much. Small enough state to get around everywhere. Company is Paragon Tile Installation. I started Paragon Tile in 2020 after a short stint as a manufacturer's rep that I tried out in 2017. Did that for a couple of years, but decided coming back to tile was my deal. So working for myself, by myself at this point. And yeah, CTI, Certified Tile Installer, 1279. Pretty proud of that.
Nice. And when did you get that? So 1279.
2016.
Yeah, you've had that for a while.
It's been a bit. So yeah, well, back when they were still doing it only in South Carolina, so we traveled down there to get it done. Myself and a couple other gentlemen.
Traveled to the CTF headquarters there.
Correct.
Nice. Very cool. Well, listen, Matt. What do you specialize in? I mean, you're a single contractor working by yourself. You're probably doing remodels, or what do you specialize in?
So we're doing residential work only, and got a good mix of, direct to homeowner, direct to client, and a lot of new construction for general contractors. Okay. Kind of all high-end residential type stuff.
Okay. So you have a few different areas where your work's coming from, but it's pretty much all high-end tile work.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. I want to dig into that and kind of how you've structured your business and how that runs. But, this is kind of intriguing. And I read this on your website, of course. I knew that you worked for a manufacturer. A lot of tilers will take that as basically, almost like a retirement from the installation process. But you found yourself coming back to the tile installation, obviously for a reason. You must enjoy it. What advice can you give anybody on either side of the fence, I guess? Let's because a lot of people are like, well, how could I get in? Maybe they're getting up there, or maybe they're just ready to go work for somebody. What advice can you give a tile installer who's maybe thinking about going to work for a manufacturer? Can you give them any advice that would help them maybe along that process?
Sure. I mean, I think it really depends on the individual, right? So for me, um, the way it worked for me was how I got into tile. A good friend of mine, best friend really, was into tile when I met him. Started out as a helper with him and all that good stuff, probably a little over 20 years ago now. And he went the route of becoming a manufacturer's rep.
Mm-hmm.
And when he did so, that's when I really dove in headfirst to just strictly tile rather than kind of other stuff I was doing at the time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw how, he made out and how happy he was and whatever else. So when the opportunity came for me, I jumped on it, thought it would be great, thought it was the next thing. The one thing I didn't mention in the intro was I'm a full-time firefighter as well. So
That's right. Yeah.
I thought it was kind of it was a company that was willing to work, kind of a startup situation, willing to work around my schedule. And I just thought it would be nice to have that job alongside of that instead of a second physical type job.
Yeah.
Fast forward after a few years, like I said, the decision was really personal to everybody, but for me, I missed the tools, I missed doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
And it was tough going out, seeing guys and, talking to guys doing the work and not doing it. The desire to just get back to do it was stronger than the desire to be on the road. And on the road traveling for a small company, I was on the West Coast as much as I was here on the East Coast, and that's taxing on the family. So for us, it was kind of a no-brainer to go back.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Very cool.
So I'd say for anybody interested in it, I mean, you got to look at your scenario, make sure it's what you want to do, make sure you know how much travel is involved, make sure you know all those crazy things. Are you really ready to give it up?
Ask a lot of questions. Yeah.
100%.
Well, I have a feeling, and I'm curious to know, I'm sure it, even though it wasn't the right fit for you as far as a career choice, I'm sure you learned a lot of valuable lessons that you even probably applied to your business today. Does any
100%.
Does any 100% come to top of mind?
So I wouldn't be where I am today already since leaving that to start this again if it wasn't for taking that job. I learned a lot being on the other side, seeing what installers struggle with, what installers, just different, somebody else's business, kind of before social media was super big with the tile groups and everybody was open and willing to share. The contractors would open up to the reps, you open up to your rep, you kind of get more sharing and you see more, you see the good and the bad, and it's I learned a lot of things business wise as well from that. So it was a great experience. Like I said, I'm glad I did it. Certainly glad I did it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And that's the attitude to have no matter where we find ourselves in life. I mean, there are times, when we find ourselves maybe working towards something or in a situation where, as contractors, I'm sure we find ourselves in that situation where it's like, you just got to grin and bear it and hopefully learn your lesson from that job. Even though it didn't turn out, and I guess I'm specifically thinking of, different types of tile jobs, because our clients are, we still have bosses, right? But they're just usually for 1, 2, or 3 weeks at a time, the homeowners or the GCs and builders and things. And some of them, might go wrong, but even if things go wrong, we can learn from it. And having, like you said, that access to the other side of the industry, moving around, talking to contractors, and I think more or less what really probably what it is you get to view that contractor and you probably see a lot of yourself in a lot of the people you were basically, networking with or visiting their job sites and stuff. You could probably see a little bit of yourself and all of us, right? We can all do that. And
100%.
you were removed from the situation. You weren't emotionally attached to that business. You weren't so close. And now all of a sudden you've removed yourself, and you can see like, oh, that's the same thing I do, but here, like now I can see it in action. And that's why it doesn't work, whether it's business or physical type work. I mean, I bet that happened a lot to you, and really boosted, because honestly, you haven't, you've been back in business for 3 years as a contractor?
Yeah, about a little over two and a half.
Okay.
Pretty much made the decision to jump from that job into this. I feel like it was a week before COVID really turned into a big deal.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah.
timing could have been, feeling like I was stuck in that job, and the COVID and all that could have been really negative, kind of self-talk and head trash sort of stuff that could have gone the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was the right decision for me to leave that and just go out on my own. And I knew I could do it, no matter what it was going to be.
Yeah.
Just keep grinding, and whatever. I did it before, would do it again. Or, going to that job again, like I said, the benefits from that, learning business stuff, learning that I should be more than just the craftsman and, out there trying to do the work. There's more to it than that. And that really started me on that journey and got me more into, traveling, driving from here to other states and everything else. Gave me all kinds of time to listen to podcasts, books, things I never did in the past. And that really kind of started the big change, and was a big push into getting me to make that jump, the confidence to make that jump, no matter what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. I like that. I like that a lot. What was going through your head? So you quit a job, you start contracting, and then COVID hits. I mean, it must've been like an, oh crap moment.
It was a bit of an oh crap moment. I have, my wife works in the school system. So she has an okay job. And we got 2 boys to take care of, house, mortgage, cars, the whole bit. And firefighting is there. It was always going to be there, full-time job, but it's not, we would like to live a lifestyle that wouldn't, just that alone would not support. Right.
Right.
So, yeah, there was a bit of an oh crap, like being the breadwinner. It's like, man, how's this going to work out? But again, it was just one of those things, put your head down, do the work, and things worked out. And I'm super thankful for that.
It turns out if people are home more, they're looking at their tile more and want to replace it more.
Yeah, the crazy thing, to be honest with you, got a little bit nervous on it, and it was just one day got a call from a contractor, and we ended up, our first big job during COVID was a new construction house, a $9 million house on the water down in southern Rhode Island. So it just, again, the right mindset, the right talking to the right people, networking with the right people around here got us into that, and couldn't have asked for anything better.
So you're in large homes predominantly down there?
Yeah, for the most part. Yep.
Now,
a lot of second homes, or summer homes close to the ocean, that sort of thing. And we do some obviously regular type of homes as well.
Sure.
But they're all I would say most of our stuff is $1 million plus.
Mm-hmm. Now, for these larger homes, there's a lot of tile work that typically goes into it. How are you as a single installer? Did you say you have a apprentice or no apprentice?
No apprentice. I've gone through an apprentice. I had actually an apprentice for a bit, and he just decided to go a different direction, which is, it happens. It's fine. It's part of the, we invest in people, and it's part of what happens. It's a chance you take. Yeah. But I'm on the fence of how I want the business to look in the future. Mm-hmm. Not sure if I want to kind of get a little bit bigger. I've always had thoughts of 5-star contractor with certified tile installers and all that good stuff. But there's headaches with that too, right? So maybe it makes sense to stay a small kind of artisan guy and even focus a little bit tighter on what we do. Mm-hmm. So that's a struggle right now, trying to figure that out, but day by day.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and either one can be, accessible, it's within your reach. And either one can be profitable. Now it's kind of curious because I do these recordings and typically batch recordings. I get in the mood, so I try to schedule, 1 to 2. I just interviewed Adam Mills before I interviewed you, Matt. And Adam's in the Tahoe area, so he's also in, multi-million-dollar homes out there. multiple bathrooms, everything you're probably experiencing with a type of area that attracts people who like second and third homes, vacation homes.
Mm-hmm.
They might only use them 1 month out of the 12 or whatever, but they're a certain class of home, right? Well, he's in that similar class as you are. Now he has 24 employees. So I bring this up just to let you know, if you ever want to reach out to him, I'm sure he would, be happy to, talk to you about that. Because I see a lot of similarities, at least in the demographic of what I'm understanding.
Sure.
Now, the other thing is I kind of want to explore this single operator business as well, and kind of what your thoughts are about that, and kind of what the difficulties are, as well as the rewards to remaining small. Because obviously you have contractors hiring you for very large homes, and you're a single operator, so you can only move so fast. So I would imagine that would be the first thing contractors that I know would ask is like, how are you going to move fast enough through these homes? So do you get that pushback?
I definitely get that. And I've had conversations with contractors within the last 6 months or so, and that was kind of their main focus. Like, how are you going to handle this? What's it going to look like? What's the reality? And I'm just honest with them. This is usually what I can get done in a reasonable amount of time. Past projects that may be similar to what they have, how long it took me overall, how long I thought it was going to take me, what may have made it different. Tile choices are a big thing. We all know that. As far as how long things are going to take. And it'd just be flat out and honest with them, instead of, one thing I learned again through that whole transition was, and even more lately, just with business coaching and other things that I'm into, just be honest. I don't have to win every job. I'm not looking to win every job. And the more honest I am and confident in myself, it's been working. It just works out. They get to trust who I am, and that, understand who I am and where I'm coming from. And it's been working out great.
Nice. I bet, and the funny thing is, it's like once you get to that other side of the spectrum, I guess, with the homes, like, you do track homes, obviously they want you in and out as fast as possible. You're on top, you're working with other trades and everything. But then once you get to the other kind of, point of the scale, I guess, with the homes you're in, I bet the timelines get extended a lot. There's a lot more, from my experience working in areas like that. I mean, you might be on a job for 5 or 6 years, under construction, not necessarily the tile portion, but the whole job, right? Like a remodel or a new build or something. So I guess that helps too, is probably these homeowners, they kind of know it's going to take a long time, and they probably have 1 to 2 to 3 other houses, and they're not in that big of a rush. Does that help sometimes? Or
it absolutely helps. And I would say the smaller ones aren't that way, but the real big ones that are just kind of
the real big ones,
summer homes or whatnot, that's 100% what it is. They've already got another home in the neighborhood that they'll probably sell when this is done, or they're not worried about it. One we just finished up, I think the contractor's been on it for close to 2 years, and it's about wrapped up now at that point where our portion's done, but they've got little things left here to do. And the second one we're going into for them, reality is it'll probably be 3 years total before it's done. So it's, the clients understand what it's going to be, and those contractors are nice to work for. That was something different to get used to the first time I got into that. I expected to be pushed and rushed, and they care more about the quality, and that was refreshing to find.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. So what are you doing for your estimates? I mean, these big jobs, one guy, you're wearing a lot of hats. Are you T&M, or are you actually giving hard estimates, rough estimates?
No, a lot of times I'm given pretty rough, basic estimates, unless I know what everything is. If I know what the tile is, if I know what things look like, then I give a pretty hard number, but have the conversation. Like, if something changes, there's change orders before we move forward anywhere. And that's going to affect time. It's going to affect cost. It's going to affect everything. So again, it just goes back to conversation.
Communication. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. Good to know. So you're basically, giving them a rough estimate most of the time, and then probably billing out. What do you bill, every other week or something, or on a real big job like that?
It depends. I'm kind of so I would bill every couple of weeks before, but now I'm actually kind of taking a bigger deposit to start with on
Okay.
a lot of these. So that gets us through a little bit further.
Hmm.
Kind of get all of our prep materials, get some labor in, and then we'll take us, depending on the course of the job, how big it is, we'll take either 2 or 3 more progress payments and then a final in the end. But the final is always kind of in our favor, being the smallest of the payments.
Right.
So, right.
Yeah. 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 That final should be 100% profit, and it shouldn't be all your profit. Or,
Right.
you
Exactly.
know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There was a time that that was 100% not the case, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think it's, I think that's the way to run a business in this day and age, is to, have progress payments, have, that upfront deposit and all that good stuff. It's just good business sense. And it's for everybody's sake involved, yours and the person hiring you. It puts everybody at ease. And
Exactly.
it sends the message that this is a professional engagement. This is, a professional business, and both parties are willing to play professionally together. Now, talk to me about, kind of, because I have a feeling a lot of my audience, and maybe they're on the outskirts or they live and work in an area kind of like yours, where there's some really nice high-end places. And of course, there's also average and below average places, I'm sure, as well. So there's markets. There's always markets in pretty much every area, except on rare occasions. Now, how does a person attract the type of builder, the type of people who are the really big money built in the area? How do you get in with that type of community from your experience?
What's worked for me a lot is having a good quality relationship with distributors and having a good quality relationship even with manufacturers reps. I've gotten
Okay.
referrals from both. Um, that's really worked the best. I know social media would be probably a good place to go. That's something I know I need to work more on. I try to post a lot of stuff to Instagram. I need to be more active on Facebook and try and engage with some maybe local groups and things of that nature. But at the same time, I mean, it's one of those things. It's a balance. Like I know I should do it, need to do it, but it depends on which way I'm going to go with this.
Yeah.
If I had employees to do all the work that I
Right.
could attract, that'd be one thing. But I got to
Yeah.
keep mindful of that too.
Absolutely. Now, it's interesting you mentioned this, because this is something that I've learned along this, I guess, the Tile Money podcast journey, that getting to know your reps as well as your distributors, it's so much more than just having that person having a relationship, for your, for when you need, like, oh crap, I want to know my rep because I want him to answer the phone if I ever have an oh crap moment in the field, right?
Hmm.
But it's so much more beyond that. I mean, there are countless instances where these jobs, especially it seems like the larger the job, the higher the risk. These people are talking to either the distributors or, maybe they have a certain, manufacturer like Laticrete that they've already chosen because of their architect or whatever. And they're getting involved and having discussions, early discussions before most tile contractors even come on the job. They're having discussions about tile and about the products. The big money, the smart money will do this type of stuff. And they'll bring in the local rep from Laticrete to write the specs, right? Or to whatever, to advise.
Hmm.
And that local Laticrete rep is only going to have a top 2-3 people he's going to recommend. So, and that's based on, relationships, but it's also based on your abilities, of course. Hopefully
Of course.
they're not out there, but you have to have both, right? You have to have that relationship. So what you're telling me is you spend time with your distributors, probably a little bit more time than the average Joe, getting to know them, communicating with them, letting them know what you're all about. And the same can be said with your reps. And this has actually opened the doors for the big homes for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It has. And back to the relationship with the reps too, the same thing. We've got a rep coming out to look at a project. We're actually doing a pool retile out here next month, and the rep's going to come out. We're going to look at it and make sure that everything's done to spec, so we'll get a warranty for the clients and everything. and that's a big deal out here. And
Yeah.
it's, again, through the distributor knowing that we're doing that, and the rep being involved. I got another call today to start working with the pool company to
Nice.
do all because they're having issues with tiles falling off their pool every year. Freeze thaw is a big deal out here, obviously. So I understand there's a right way to do it, and that's the only way I'm going to do it. So getting everybody involved to make sure we do that, right down to even going back to, guys like Scott Carruthers and picking his brain and other things like that. Just, again, use the resources.
Absolutely. I want to talk about CTI and Scott Carruthers and the industry and how, how much you've been involved, because I see you everywhere in getting involved, and I know that's got to also pay off. Shoot, I forgot. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I was going to ask you. You said you had a rep come out, look at the pool, look at the job, and he's going to write a spec and then write the warranty. How much does that cost?
From the rep company?
For you, how much do you need?
How does that cost me?
Yeah.
Man, I'll let you know if it costs me anything. We haven't talked about what that costs at all. He just
right.
told me to come right out and do it. It doesn't cost anything except for time and doing it.
That's what's so crazy.
I see where you're going now. You threw me a curve there for a second.
Yeah. That's what's so crazy about this. And I want to, and that's why I'm highlighting this, so that I didn't want this just to be one of those things that got kind of quickly discussed, because the fact of the matter is, and I'll continue to highlight this every time it comes up, these manufacturer reps, put them to work for you, put them to work for your small company. Matt's a one-man operation. So what typically happens is what happens a lot for newer businesses, it's happened to me, is you get on the hamster wheel and you're moving so fast and you can't ever jump off that hamster wheel, even to think about utilizing other people that are outside of your company to benefit your company. Bringing that representative, which manufacturer is it? It doesn't matter.
It'll be Ladecrete.
Bringing win. All right. So bringing the Ladecrete rep in, that's saving you time. He's going to be working for you to save you time. It's also elevating your professionalism. Now, that's going to take a little bit of time up front. I mean, first of all, you got to have that relationship. You got to have that number. You got to actually know that this opportunity exists in the marketplace. That took a little bit of, networking and talking and, going down, thinking about these things. But so it takes a little bit of time up front. So slow down, slow that hamster wheel off, sometimes jump off it, build those relationships, listen to this podcast, talk to other people, see what's possible. Yeah, you're investing some time, but that short little investment of time in the beginning to actually learn these things is going to pay off and save you so much time and money in the long run. Why wouldn't you do it? Especially for your large jobs. Small jobs, not so much. You should know how to put a tub hop in and what materials to use. Pool, yeah, I'd probably be bringing in as many reps as I could, just to get, opinions, unless if I really had a great relationship with my Ladecrete rep and, absolutely trusted that system and felt good about that. But the point is, I guess I would want different opinions on it if I'd never done a pool. And most of that can happen on the internet actually nowadays.
Sure.
But to kind of collaborate. All right, let's jump into, because I know you went out. So you kind of had a cool experience. You went to the CTEF headquarters to take your CTI. And I imagine Scott Carruthers was testing back then
Yep.
And so you got to meet him, and you've had a relationship with him, which, I mean, anybody who's not at least doesn't have Scott on their radar and have his phone number is just missing a huge opportunity. I mean, one of the smartest guys in the industry. And he's always happy to help any way he can. So shout out to Scott. What has that done? That relationship. And then, like I said, you go to, I mean, how many trade shows do you go to typically a year? Which ones?
So, TSP last year was the first time I've been to TSP.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be the last. That'll be for sure.
Okay.
Every year.
Okay.
This year I laid off. I usually do go to coverings.
Mm-hmm.
This year I did not. I was on vacation with my family, so that kind of took precedence.
Sure.
But I'll probably always go to TSP 100% and coverings when I can. So, probably 2 out of the 3 big ones a year. For sure. It's totally worth networking with other installers the reps, guys like Scott, Mark Heinlein, Rob Roderick, all these guys from the NTCA, Jim Olson, and Bart. I mean, for these guys and for some of the other, I've always said this when I'm there. The fact that guys like Woody and Dirk and they all know who I am, it just blows my mind. It blows my mind. But you've said it 100 times on here. That's the tile community. It's everybody knows everybody. Everybody's here to help everybody. Yeah. It's fantastic family.
What did you like? Because we have the last trade show of the year is Total Solutions Plus that I know about. I think it's in October, and it's in California this year. They move it around. It's always at nice locations. This year, I think it's good for families, or typically you could always bring your family. There's a lot of families come, actually. A lot of wives and even children we meet at Total Solutions Plus. What did you like about it? What was the highlight of you that kind of got you hooked?
I like the intimacy of it. It was small. There was a ton of information still, more business stuff and NTCA technical committee stuff. Being able to sit in on the technical committee meetings, it's crazy. It's awesome. And again, just to be able to talk to some of these guys at coverings, everybody's going 100 miles an hour trying to run everything. And it's hard to get anybody's ear, hard to get any time. And it's completely understandable. This was not like that at all. It was, there was time to sit down and have a drink, have a conversation. It was awesome.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly why I love it too. I mean, more business focused, tracks, seminars, panels, whatever discussions, for sure. So anybody who this is not on your radar, maybe this is the first time you're hearing of it, check out Total Solutions Plus. It is one of the only ones that you will pay for. I can say that you get what you pay for. And I'll leave it at that. I mean,
it goes back into investing in yourself and your company. I mean, what else is worth investing in as much as yourself if you're trying to do something with this,
Exactly. And so how have you taken all this knowledge from, way back, really from the time you took your CTI to before that to now to, coverings, TSP, the internet, social media? How do you take all this knowledge that we all have access to, and you've been kind of putting yourself in the middle of and taking, active participation in a lot of these discussions and meetings, like you said, the TCNA technical committee meeting. The reason Dirk and all those guys, know you is because you go to this meeting. This meeting is, it could be 50 to 150 people depending on the year, but not a lot of people go to these meetings because they're long, they're tedious, they're packed full of information that you may or may not be interested in. But if you're in the industry, I would recommend going to at least one of these meetings in your career just to understand kind of a fuller picture of the other side of the industry.
Everything that happens in the background to make the technical book, to make it all work is, it's eye-opening.
Yeah, it is. And the fact that you're going back year after year, I mean, here's what it is. It shows your commitment to the industry, and it shows your desire to elevate yourself as well as the entire trade simultaneously. And guys, the industry leaders who have been going for year after year after year, they appreciate seeing new faces, and it reinvigorates them. So that's why they take notice of you. That's why they know your name, because it's as much as you're getting from them, I can guarantee you, they're getting the same back from guys, the new guys who show up and the guys who show up for the second and third year. That's really exciting to these guys. It's exciting to me when I see it. I don't make every meeting like that. I've been in a few, and it's always been a blessing to be in that room and to kind of feel the energy and the excitement of everybody, and to kind of understand, like you said, a lot of work goes into that book.
Yeah, for sure.
But what I'm kind of driving at here and want to know, Matt, is how do you take all this kind of information that you've gathered and have access to and apply it to your business to become that local expert? We were talking a little bit before we recorded, and you said, it's funny. I feel like people are calling me now for questions, even if I'm not working on the job or whatever. They kind of know me. My name, Matt Blood, Paragon Tile, is simultaneous with is attached at the hip, so to speak, with tile in your area, right? Like, you are the local expert. So how did you do it? it's one thing to go to all this stuff, learn all this, but to actually then apply it in a way that you have an ROI. How did you get that ROI?
So I probably did it wrong in the beginning. I was just trying to vomit all the information I knew on anybody that would listen. And since I've kind of learned that that's really not the best approach, so I try to do that even with sales, it's old time sales game. I try to woo the client with everything I knew, and, to just go about and turn it around and try and make it more about either the installer or whoever I'm trying to help and whatever, and just interject only what they need to know as far as what their questions they're asking for. But just to be able to have that, I mean, the distributors, I think, are really the big ones that have kind of helped me locally drive some of that. If anytime they have a question, they call and ask.
Mm-hmm.
I get blown away sometimes when reps will call. Even I've had a couple of different reps from different companies call me and say, "Hey, I know you use that product. I got that going on with something over here. What are your thoughts?" And da da da. So I guess it's just I don't know what to say. I mean, at the time I've put into it, it's nice to see that I can share it with people. Hopefully that answers your question, right? I'm kind of going off on a tangent.
So we'll dig into it a little bit. So you kind of came in a little hot and heavy, as they say, and kind of were eager to share your knowledge, right?
Right.
But you found that didn't have the best response.
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, you can get too deep in the technical, right? Sometimes you bore people.
Sure.
Crazy thing I learned about this year is a disc profile. Different people have different mentalities of how they like to go about things, and man, if you vomit a lot of information on a certain profile of person, they're just totally checked out, not even listening to you. And other people want that information, so it's more about learning about who you're talking to, trying to get a feel for who you're talking to, and give them what they need. But yeah, just to be able to have that information, and just going to these events more and more, even when the NTCA comes locally for trainings. There were some years where the training was the same every year, but I think that just helped kind of, you pick up something that I remember that. I didn't remember that from the time, and then that's how you remember things and get more and more of the information. And honestly, I've tried to set myself apart a bit by giving some of these clients and general contractors, especially, more detailed information in my estimates, telling them what I'm doing, what standards we're building showers to, as far as TCNA standards, what standards flooring is going to be built to, that sort of thing. And it's been well received.
Okay. Excellent. So you're adjusting, you're learning about personalities. When you said profile disc, I thought you were talking about a wheel for your grinder.
No, different disc profile.
So you're learning disc profile, which is, personality types and kind of how to talk to different people, and what, frankly, what different personality types are interested in learning. Right. And,
Correct.
So you're getting a better read on your client as early as you can. And you're kind of, looking for clues on either this person is digging up, like eating up this information, or they just want to know that they're going to get a good job done. And that's all I need, so there's different spectrums there too. Right. So, and then what you're doing is from what I'm understanding correctly. So you're being a little bit less aggressive with your display of knowledge, I guess, up front, but you're putting the knowledge to use in other ways. You're putting it in your estimates, with references to the TCNA manual and guidelines, and probably CTI, and, putting all that information in there, just a lot of details. That way, that's a smart way to go, really. I was always kind of, I did it both ways, but I like the detailed estimates because the fact of the matter is it's there. Most people are just going to glance at it and say, looks like this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah. And we've gotten that, but we've also gotten the call, hey, what does all this mean? I've never seen this before.
Exactly.
And that's when that's the guy who wants to know, who's looking for the information.
Exactly. So most people are going to just say, oh, okay, looks like Matt knows what he's doing. I feel comfortable with this. Some people, like you said, will want to have a longer conversation, and then you can really win them. And those are probably clients for life.
For sure.
Yeah. Now, how have you used your CTI? And I know you're eager to take your ACT test as well, it sounds like.
Yeah, there's some of them I want to take for sure. Some of them won't really apply to me as a one person. The gauge porcelain panels, one guy can't do that alone. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be probably the last one.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the other ones, even mud is not a big thing around here. We only mud shower floors.
Mm-hmm.
But I still would love to know. I still would love to do it more and have
Mm-hmm.
that as a, in the quiver or something to be able
Sure.
to do if we needed to.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's again, just for personal more than anything,
Yeah.
to prove to myself that I can do it. I'm always challenge myself and laugh. I was telling my wife the other night that I'm kind of a recovering perfectionist. I
Mm-hmm.
try to do everything to the nth degree, but I'm trying to calm that down a little bit so it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
I don't have to be perfect or nothing. That's
Yeah. 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 Strive for it, but realize that
that's
you're
it.
never gonna nail it. Never gonna
That's it.
nail
100
perfection
exactly.
in
Yep.
this life. So how have you been able to use the CTI? I mean, are you getting phone calls just because you're a CTI in your area? I know some people are.
Yeah, I certainly do.
Okay. Very
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, those are the great ones when people have called and looked, and we have a consultation I'm going on early next week. That's exactly from that.
Okay.
Going to look at a tile job. Unfortunately, like I mentioned to you before we started this, been getting a lot of these calls lately.
Yeah.
Jobs installed, maybe not exactly correct, I guess is the nice way to put it. And what they can do to fix it and what I would do to fix it at that point, whether it's going to be me to fix it or not. They're looking for a professional opinion, and I feel pretty cool, blessed that they're coming to me for that. And that's why I put so much stress into knowing this stuff and learning this stuff and going to these things so I can provide real information,
This
accurate
is,
information.
yeah, no, absolutely. It's crazy because once somebody has a failure, typically once somebody has a failure of a shower or anything, right? I mean, it could be your car or bicycle, whatever. You usually have to pause and say, what went wrong? Like, and then once they learn what went wrong, I mean, probably during the demolition or whatever, oh, the tile, guy didn't know what he was doing. The waterproofing was on the wrong side of the wall or whatever that caused the failure. Then they're going to, they just lost a boatload of money. I mean, even if it was only $5-6 grand, 10 grand, I mean, that's a lot of money, and time and everything, and it's probably, I mean, you're most people, I don't think they can get into a shower for less than 10 grand these days, labor, materials, glass. I think 10
Right.
would be scraping by.
I would agree.
So there's 10 grand. They just probably lost. Maybe they can save the glass, but they're going to pause. And when they pause, they turn to good old Google and they start typing in, how to find a good tile guy, how to find a, qualified tile installer. Guess what? Scott Carruthers has been doing an amazing job, and the team at CTEF, I don't know who does their blogging. I know Scott does some of them with their blogging and their internet presence. And they actually are ranked pretty darn well on Google. And when people start, and because it's a nationwide thing, when people start Googling this, they find the CTEF, they find certified tile installers, and they end up calling one because it's that trust thing. It's that, they got burned. Now they're turning to a industry recognized certified tile installer to help them out. And that's what's happening. And the fact of the matter is, everybody listening, we're going to have so many more. If you think you're getting a lot of failed shower calls now, Matt, the last 3 years have been just go, go, go. And we know, and this isn't unusual. Every time the economy takes a good run like it has in the last 3 years, I mean, I'm tempted to go be a contractor again. Everybody's comes out of their woodwork. I mean, they might have grouted once in 1985 and now they're a tile guy, because
Sure.
it's easy money, and it's easy. They might have been a salesman, a car salesman or something. And, it's not that hard to sell somebody on a new tile shower, even if they don't know what they're doing. So We're going
And
to
the
have,
reality is there's more work out there than there are installers,
oh,
and there's more work out there than there are
yeah,
quality installers.
yeah, for
And
sure. For sure.
so it's a thing we've done. Man, I can't tell you. I bet you I can think of 6 off the top of my head in my own town
Yeah.
that I've done failed shower replacements work. I mean, the insurance company knows my company name. It's
And
just been,
I
it's been
I
crazy.
love replacing showers. That was kind of the bread and butter of my business is remodeling, replacing failed showers because they're coming to you because you bring something of more value than their last contractor. They're coming to you looking
Right.
to you as a professional. So you can typically charge a little more, as you should be, than the competitively priced guys because that's how they got there in the first place, is being too competitive and taking too many shortcuts to keep their numbers down. So you're giving a much better experience, using better materials. And these calls are not going to stop coming. They're going to only increase, and the CTEF is going to get a lot of these calls. CTEF's going to turn around to their CTIs and hand the leads over. And that's exactly the way that works, as well as get to know your reps, get to know your distributors like we talked about. If you're looking to build a long-term sustainable business, this is just the things you got to do. Become an NTCA member. I mean, $500 a year just to put that you're part of an organization, a nationwide organization. That's what clients want to see. I mean, when you go to your doctor's office, if he doesn't have any signs and pictures and certificates and, schools on his wall, you're starting to wonder, where'd this guy get his degree? A Cracker Jack box?
Right.
So
Yeah. And as far as CT, I mean, I don't know if any other Rhode Island installers will listen to this ever, but man, look into this. Be a certified tile installer. I think if we look in the state now, there's 2 for sure of us. One of them is a rep. As far as I know, I'm the only certified tile installer in Rhode Island setting tile.
Wow.
I don't want to be.
Yeah.
I want other people to be doing it right too.
Yeah.
And know they're doing it right and feel confident they're doing it right and have the confidence in the confidence in themselves that they got this. We know it's a basics kind of test in reality, right? But it's still, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good to have that number. If you're in there in tile to do it correctly and want to do it right for a career, it's a stepping stone in the way to, keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Just look into it. I mean, I think everybody should be. Reality. I mean, everybody talks about it, and you hear it in the groups every now and then. Man, there should be a license for tile. I'm on that side. There should be, but I think the reality is there won't be ever, probably. But I mean, there's guys working on it. Craig Harriman's right, is working on it.
Yep.
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. But
Craig.
then,
Craig is on a TCNA subcommittee meeting that they founded especially for Craig, essentially for the work he's been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. And he's gotten the closer than anybody that, to my knowledge, of getting a nationwide license. Still a lot of work to do. And it's one of those delicate things too in nature where you don't want to rush that.
It's got to be done right.
So it's got to be done right, and it's now that we kind of have, the committee and a larger picture, I'm excited to see what happens. And, like I said,
Same.
Nothing's for sure in this world, but I think Craig's gotten closer than anybody I know and have heard of. But it's exciting because I agree. I think a license for this trade is exactly what's needed. And I've heard the other sides of the arguments, and maybe I even was on there myself, on the other side, but now I'm on the licensing side, because the fact of the matter is, you look at other trades and you're just like, they're doing, better, charging better, blah, blah, every single one of them. You want to say electrician or plumber, I mean, license. I mean, you can't operate without a license. Mm-hmm. And it's just a little extra barrier to weed out some of those, DIYers turn pro overnight,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing against anybody learning, obviously, but I think the big box stores kind of hurt the industry being able to do that. Anybody can just go get a bucket of mastic, of course, right, and a trowel and go at it. Do you think they're doing it correctly?
Yeah, and that is one of the things with tile. I mean, give me $500, I could tool up, and install a shower.
Sure.
Panels. It's one of the reasons I'm more attracted to panel work, because it's going to be at least a $5,000, $6,000 investment in tools for anybody, you know, even wanting to approach panels seriously. Even though I did hear about this one guy who his first panel job, he threw it in the back of his 8-foot truck, just flat, you know, and traveled, you know, with no support really, and just traveled to his job like that 30 miles and then drug it out by hand, threw it on the grass, cut that panel up on the grass. Yeah. That was his first
That's
one.
not luck that lasted.
Right.
That worked out.
Right. I did that same thing almost with I don't know. It was like a 3x5 tile or something. It was not a gauge tile. It was a regular porcelain rectified tile, but it was just a LFT, you know, and I cut it with a skill saw in the front yard there. It was raining. So, that I got lucky there too. Cause
good dust control, right?
The rain was provided. Yeah. But that's one of those things, you know, you're taking a risk for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been a good discussion. Did we miss anything here, Matt, that you wanted to touch on before we say goodbye?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay.
I appreciate the time for sure. This was fun.
Absolutely. And I appreciate your time. I know this podcast interview will help a lot of people and hopefully encourage some people to look into CTAF as well as Total Solutions Plus we discussed and everything we discussed. There's a lot of value there, you know. So I appreciate you sharing your knowledge, Matt. I really do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. We'll talk to you later, Matt.
All right. We'll talk to you later, Luke. Thanks.
All right, tile friends. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to my friend Sol. He's a Canadian tile installer. He wrote a book called Tile Confidential. This is for interior designers and architects. You can order this book on Amazon, Tile Confidential. This is I think this would make a great gift to a designer, architect, or whoever, maybe a distributor. This is kind of an icebreaker situation. Order it for like $14, but it has a lot of valuable information about tile, you know, about the different types of tile. Is it satin? Is it microtech? Is it polished? You know, the finishes, the sealers, you know, the hardness test. I mean, it has a lot of great valuable information. It was written by a tile installer, Sol. Tile Confidential on Amazon.com. Tile friends, thanks for listening to the podcast. If you want to subscribe to my email newsletter, you can do that. TileMoney.com. We do a weekly email newsletter. Stay positive out there, tile friends. I hope you're having a good week. And above all else, please, please, please stay profitable, tile friends. All right, over and out. Talk to you next week.